Allo de mefere mek. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today's topic of discussion is education, or the conversation around education. I want to talk about the education that starts at home around clarity. And now clarity is a concept that we all understand. It's really important to get clear, to be clear when you're making decisions, when you're figuring out your next steps, but it's an important principle that requires certain prerequisites, in my opinion. And so I want to talk a little bit about clarity because I do think that many of us find ourselves throughout our lives at different crossroads where we really wish we had clarity on like what to do. And it's really hard to find clarity if you don't know what are some of the precursors to clarity in life. And I think sometimes we can really benefit from having those one-off like moments of clarity. But I think there's a lifestyle that we can build. There are some specific lifestyle choices that we can make that enable us to have access and to tap into clarity at any point in time. And so I am someone who is a deeply spiritual human being. I think clarity, focus, vision, these are things that I build my lifestyle around, making sure that I'm constantly able to tap into. And how I tap into it are by following specific principles that enable me to feel clear. And I think when it comes to all of the information that's happening all around us, all of the misinformation, all of the news that takes place, it's hard to be clear on what's true and what isn't. And oftentimes such levels of nuance in the things that we hear, there are elements that could be true, that could be pertinent, and then other elements are not. So it's important that we each make it our own sort of task. We each make it our own priority, our own responsibility to get clear. We can't expect other people to give it clarity to us. And so I want to talk about some things that I do to keep clear and to get clear, and hopefully this is a benefit to you. So one of the things that I do believe ties into clarity is clean eating. Clean eating, and also like having a space that feels orderly, that feels organized, that feels put together, because otherwise the clutter outside of us and around us can translate as clutter inside of us. I am someone who's very intentional, very mindful about what I eat, but also when I eat. That's also very important to me as well. I think that food is such an important part of how we energize ourselves, how we get ready for the day, or how we stay energized throughout the day. So not even just eating, but how I eat, what I eat, how much I eat. All of these elements really do tie into me feeling clear, me having the clarity to make the decisions that impact progress, and all of the different ways that it translates. So food is such an important part of clarity. So if you're constantly eating junk food, emphasis on junk, recognize that that's going to obstruct your ability to get clear. If you are in a moment right now where you're at a crossroads where you need to make a decision, then this is an important time to think about your diet, to think about like what it is that you're eating, what you could incorporate in your food intake that will enable you to get clarity, that will enable you to feel clear. Because if you feel sluggish, if you feel lethargic, if you feel sleepy, then it's hard to feel those things and also feel clear. So your diet is super important. And I think too many of us discount the value of understanding what specific foods do for our bodies, right? So it's important to know what specific foods, what their benefits are, and then figure out like what is it that you need, what does your body need specifically. Now I did a food screen now maybe over 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, and sometimes when I feel that my body's like reacting and acting up to specific food, I remember the food specifically that my body loves at all times, and then I'll stick to a clean diet where I'm only eating those foods. Or sometimes I decide to go plant-based, and so I'm someone who has pivoted between plant-based eating and then eating specific meats at different intervals of my life based on what it was that I needed, what I was pushing towards, and where it was that I was really focused on getting clear. And all of those moments of my life, I ended up just being plant-based, and it wasn't necessarily intentional, but I recognized that there is something to do with clarity and like eating in a really super clean way, like eating super foods, right? And I don't know now in my life when I think back on it, like if meat is a superfood, right? I think that is definitely enjoyable. I love myself a steak, but if I need clarity, then I'm gonna say not right now to that steak. So food is a super important principle. Another important principle for clarity for me is exercise, it's movement, it's making sure that your body is in good shape. It is hard to feel clear if we feel uncomfortable in our own skin. It is hard to feel sure about what direction that we're taking if we're not sure about how we can take care of ourselves. And I fundamentally believe that our bodies are our first child. We need to know how to take care of our bodies more than the doctors who we revert to if it is like that there's an ailment, more than anyone else. Like we need to know our bodies really well. And when you know your body, not just physically, you know your body's signals, you know what your body's signals mean. And like when I say your signals, like if you can cue in to when your body needs movement, to when your body is hungry, to when your body is tired, and you respond and you give your body what it needs in those moments, then when your body starts to give you more intuitive signals, like that this is something that's probably not a good idea, or this person might not be your kind of person. Like when you start to be able to tune into deeper signals when you listen to the most basic ones. And so I think body intelligence is just so important. I don't think many people talk about it. I think a lot of people override, they kind of just like write it off, but it's super important that you think about like, how do I get clear, get attuned to my body? How do I find that mind-body alignment? And I am big on the delta, on spiritual, mental, physical alignment. It's what I built my lifestyle around. Like my entire lifestyle is very much about that. And I think I've done videos about even like figuring out how to take it a step further. Like I want to live off grid. Like I want to be able to grow the majority of the food that I'm eating. Like these are very important principles to me, and they tie into my definition of success as well. And I think that for us to have body attunement, we need alignment, and that alignment comes with healthy movement, healthy eating, healthy sleeping. Like we need to give our body the things that it needs so that we can get clear, so that we can feel clarity. And the last note is like spiritual practices. And so I am not someone who qualifies. I wouldn't define myself as being religious. I had a very religious upbringing, a very religious background that was fairly rigid. So I grew up in an Adventist household. What I do love and what I did take away about Adventism is the focus on practical tenets of spirituality, like those practical things that you do in your day-to-day life, your lifestyle choices that play into how you feel spiritually, like how you feel about yourself, how you feel just in general. And so while I do not subscribe to the religion itself, I've taken a lot of those practices. And so I'm someone who definitely believes in fasting. I fast twice a month, and I do fast as a spiritual cleanse. I fast for clarity. I fast while focusing on the things that I need clarity on, so that I can make the right call and recognize that the right call isn't about like the majority vote. The right call isn't a consensus. It's not about how many people agree or disagree with you. It's about what you feel is right for you, regardless of the impact that has on anyone else. And I am someone who feels very confident that the choices that I've made in the last few years in like my life, even like my undergraduate degree studies, I think a lot of people aren't sure about what they want to take in their studies, but I was clear on what I wanted to take. And I think a lot of the clarity that I have experienced in my life, that I continue to experience in my life, is because I follow these basic principles that aren't so basic when you try to put them into practice. Like if you're not someone who is really cognizant about your food intake, if you don't take food nutrition seriously, if you don't take body and exercise very seriously, if you're not focused on rest, if you're not building a lifestyle around making sure that these principles are held in high esteem, then it's hard for you to understand like the benefit and how good it is to you and how good it feels to be clear. And so with clarity, there's vision, there's focus, there's meaning and fulfillment that comes from knowing where it is that your energy is supposed to go and when your attention should go as well. And so I've had that clarity. I might not always have the motivation. I know that where it is the case that I need to build motivation to do the things that matter to me, that motivation belongs in very clear quadrants. Like I know what buckets my motivation needs to tie into. Like I'm not ever confused about where my energy is supposed to go. And Project Purpose is definitely an area where I know my energy needs to go here. And I know that I need to figure out like the best way to manage my energy for Project Purpose while managing my energy for my relationships, my personal relationship with my partner, with my career, like all of these things. I know my energy belongs in all of these buckets. So my life mission, my principle in life is that how do I make sure that I build a lifestyle that has room for all of these very important things? But I know that I have to make a lifestyle choice around that caters to these specific things because I'm clear on that being the direction and the focus of my life. I know confidently that this is where I will derive meaning and fulfillment and purpose in life. But that came from first following these very basic spiritual principles. I think personal principles around food, around exercise, around, just being clear, being very intentional about what I expose myself to, the kind of people that I expose myself to, around the kind of conversations that I expose myself to, or the lifestyle practices that I expose myself to. All of these things will tie into whether or not you feel clear or whether or not you feel a little bit lost, right? And a lot of us will feel lost at different moments in our lives, but we don't need to stay lost. We can get clear. And I think that with clarity, there's focus, there's vision, there's all of these great things that motivate us and propel us forward. And I think that why wouldn't we want to do what it is that we can, leverage the tools that we have in our wheelhouse to move with clarity, to move with vision, to move with conviction. And so this is my conversation around that. This is my food for thought for you. And this is of course the education that starts at home, because not a lot of us know like what are some of the precursor behaviors that tie into clarity. Not a lot of us really know how we could value clarity. Like what does it mean to me to value clarity? Like what do I gain by being clear? What are you missing out on if you don't feel clear, if you have not felt clear, if you have felt lost the majority of your life, if you're not really sure what you're doing, but you're not taking the steps to get there? I mean, these are great questions that you should be asking yourself. And I hope that I've given you the reason to start asking those questions yourselves now, but also giving you some of the tools to how you can benefit with some different lifestyle changes that will help you to get there. So that was the topic of conversation that I wanted to have with you today, some food for thought for you. If I have piqued your interest, then tune in. We We do host live events at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our website, so definitely be sure to check those out. We do provide parent-child workshops focusing on leadership and juvenescence. The leadership for children, we don't think that you can start too young, right? Leadership is a quality that all of us should be cultivating. It's a competency that we need, especially in this world right now as it is. Like, we need more leaders now than ever, more people to think critically, have that intellectual development and that character development required to lead with integrity, to lead with conviction, to lead with purpose. So that's the topic of conversation for today, some food for thought for you. I am on the road to 1K, so if you're still here, definitely follow us. Every follow likes, but of course, if you don't want to, that's fine. Like, if you could check out our website, share this video, that also is super helpful, and I look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.